Where are our Black voices? Voices of intellectual, financial, and spiritual freedom, for which we bled and fought. Did they just disappear with united Black consciousness and progressive Black thought? Who is writing for us? Where are our Black journalists, our Black media armies, and brave woke writers that swing their pens like a mighty sword? Where are the descendants of Freedom's Journal, the first Black newspaper launched in the 1820s when our voices roared? Who's ensuring that we're protected and well represented? Who will personify my voice, your voice, our voice, while writing stories about Black joy, Black camaraderie, and how we uniquely congregate to rejoice? We need and depend on Black writers, Black researchers, and Black commentators to fight the multitude of covert wars raged against us. Our stories and experiences are beautiful and vast. Collectively, we've healed from trauma and have evolved our past. So calling all young Black voices equipped with ready pens to write stories that highlight Black excellence, perseverance, and health awareness in mass. Because we've progressed past stories of the back of the bus. And now we need Black voices that represent me as we and they as us. Pan-Africa.
Welcome to Melanated Conversations, our narrative from our perspective.
Here on the podcast, we are amplifying the voices of Black women and sharing their powerful stories of transformation.
I'm Tyrion.
And I'm Yana. Let's start the show.
Welcome back to another episode of Melanated Conversations. I am your co-host Tyrion.
And I'm your co-host Yana.
Yes, welcome back, guys. We're back for another wonderful episode today. There's so many things I want to say. Let me start off right. I want to welcome our very special guests. We always bring wonderful women on to highlight them. And so to have Quiana Darden with us today, and she is a content marketing writer and freelance writing coach, and she's going to share all the wonderful things that she's doing and how she's helping women and people, get their writing game up to par. So welcome, Quiana. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, I'm excited.
It's an exciting day.
No, well, it is an exciting day because by the time that this is recorded, so you guys, we're recording on Inauguration Day, so that's first and foremost. We can breathe a little sigh. We're breathing a little easier today. But also I've been actually really excited to talk to Quiana, from the writer side, because y'all know I love to write, and she was kind of tugging in my heartstrings when they reached out, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's all the things. I can't wait to talk about all this. So yes, welcome. Thank you for saying yes.
Thank you.
And having this chat with us today. Before we actually get into the chat, though, we always like to play a little round of fun, which we call Don't Drop the Mic. Don't worry, I don't think it's too bad. And plus, we'll play with you as well, so you're not left alone in this.
All right.
So are you down?
I'm ready.
Okay. So we're just gonna do one gotta go. So I'm gonna give you a list of 4 things, and you have to tell me which one will have to go. And I think Tyrion added this last time. One has to go forever. Is that the case? Forever.
Okay.
Yeah, she added that rule. So, okay. So we're going to do an R&B group.
Okay.
And these are Black male R&B groups. So we have New Edition, Drew Hill, Boys to Men, or Jodeci.
Okay, so not Drew Hill. I love them. Jodeci.
Jodeci has to go forever?
Yes.
Why?
Like in everything? Are we talking like everything associated with them, or just like their music? Because a lot. Sometimes other things are like branched in with certain groups or people, and producers and writers. Maybe I'm going too deep, but
I mean, here's the thing: if we're saying it has to go forever, then that means anything that I guess would be
they can't exist.
Whatever kind of impact they had, that means they do not exist.
Oh wow, that's hard. So why did you go with Jodeci?
Yeah,
just curious.
Because I love New Edition's Can You Stand the Rain, so I don't want to ever get rid of that. I love most of Dru Hill's songs, so I can't get rid of them. Boys to Men, I don't know, they're just classic. They have great like Christmas music.
Yeah.
And so Jodeci, I like Jodeci, but I only like a couple of songs, so they would go.
No, I'm with you on that. I'm sorry, Terry. I know you're probably supposed to just traditionally go first since I threw out the question, but I'm just gonna kind of like piggyback real quick. I agree with her, especially on Jodeci. I honestly, oh gosh, this might be telling my age. I don't know. Well, not necessarily. I was young when they were like prominent, but I really wasn't like deep into their music like I was the others. And just like you said, like New Edition. Well, New Edition before Jodeci, but that's different though. New Edition just had an impact. If it wasn't for New Edition, there would be no Boys to Men. So
exactly. Right. Yeah.
So it's like they kind of like, I don't want to say the grandfathers, but they are kind of the grandfathers of R&B a little bit in that sense. So you can't get rid of the classic. And I love me some Dru Hill. I love Dru Hill. And Boys to Men, like I didn't even think about Christmas. If you don't hear "Let 'Em Snow," let it snow,
exactly.
Let it snow.
Exactly.
It ain't Christmas. That's right up there with Temptations.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Why what?
You said Wanye alone, like
yeah.
Oh yeah, right.
And I'm gonna throw in a bonus for Wanye the way he was moving on Dancing with the Stars. He won that year.
Did he really?
Yeah, I think he did. Don't quote me on that, y'all. Don't be all in my DMs tell me I was wrong. I think so. He was in the top. I do know that much.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
That's interesting.
I didn't either.
This is a very difficult question. I agree with y'all. New Edition has to stay. Simply because New Edition, they did like not a metamorphosis. I don't know what the word. I know what the word is, but I can't think of it right now. Where they just kind of like split and then divided and split and divided. Like you had Belle Biv DeVoe. Then of course,
Bobby.
And then who else came in for a little bit?
Johnny Gill came in.
Yeah, Johnny Gill.
Yeah. So New Edition was like the mecca, like the core of R&B boy band groups, or not boy band, but boy groups. And like y'all said, there would be no Boys to Men without New Edition. So those go hand in hand. Now, something interesting that I did find out recently, it's not a huge connection, but Cisco did an interview and he was talking about how with Jodeci, how JoJo has that signature ooh yeah type of thing he does in all his songs. And he was saying when Dru Hill was getting together, and even when he was getting ready to go solo, he was like, everybody has like their signature trademark kind of like thing they do with their voice that sets them apart. And he was like, for him, he was like, I wanted to imitate JoJo, but make it his own. And so when he does say,
I can see that.
He took JoJo's ooh yeah and like made it his own.
Yeah. Okay.
But sorry, Dru Hill, I'm keeping Jodeci because there would be no from Cisco if it were not for JoJo and Jodeci. And Black Leather, like Jodeci made R&B boy groups. They did something different with it. They turned them kind of into bad boys. They started to be able to even
Were they
though
part of that New Jack Swing sound kind of thing? Were they kind of ushering in that movement?
A little bit, but more so like their image. They were kind of like bad boys, where in addition to Boys to Men did not have like bad boy imagery really. Now Bobby Brown kind of started to shift that when he went off solo by himself, but
right.
Jodeci was like all black leather. We gonna grind on stage with our sunglasses on because we've been doing God knows what before we came on stage. And we gonna give y'all a show. And then I think, Drew Hill was able to make it their own, to a certain degree, and in their own right, they have done some really cool things. And I love Drew Hill, but not Drew Hill.
Wow. Well, come on with the music history lesson. That was fun. Right. That was fun. Thank you for playing with us, Quiana. We appreciate it.
That was fun. Yeah.
All right. So we are actually going to go into our melanated chat because we want to hear all the things. I may be over here taking notes, so don't mind me if you see me writing some stuff down.
Okay.
But no, Terry, you want to throw out our first question?
Yes, of course. So, Quiana, can you tell us just a little bit about your backstory, your roots? Who is Creona Darden? Inform the listeners a little bit about your story. You can share as much as you want or as little as you want, but we'd like to get to know you a little bit more.
Okay. Well, I'm originally from Virginia. Let's take it all the way back. And that's where I live now. I live in Richmond, Virginia. My background educationally is in education. I was an elementary school teacher for 6.5 years. Once upon a time, I wanted to be a school principal. So I went back to school and got my master's in K-12 administration, and was like on that path toward becoming a school principal. But when my daughter was like 4 years old, I realized that I wanted to homeschool her. And so I knew that I needed to make a transition from working in the schools to being able to work at home so that I could homeschool her when she started kindergarten. And that's when I went on this path to try to figure out a business that I could work from home. It eventually led to me being a freelance writer, and that business just took off for me. So I started my freelance writing business in June of 2018, and I've been writing ever since.
Wow, we have something in common. I know you and Yana got the writing thing in common, but I was actually an educator as well, special education teacher. So,
awesome!
How old is your daughter, if you don't mind sharing?
She just turned 7.
Okay.
Last month.
Okay, then. Yeah. So we've got that a little bit in common as well. Our youngest daughters are 7, 8,
6,
7.
Okay, yeah, cool. Okay, what level were you for special education? What level? Like middle, high, elementary?
Well, I went from elementary and jumped to high school.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Which was I enjoyed elementary just because, especially when you're in special education, you can be a lot more nurturing to a certain degree, just in general in special education. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times administrators tend to really be like nitpicky and down your throat about a lot of stuff when it comes to special education in elementary school, opposed to in high school. I had a lot more freedom to be able to do certain things within my classroom that I really enjoyed. But after a while, that does take a toll on you. And I was in a behavioral unit, so I'm not a very big woman, and that took a toll on me emotionally and physically. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, I always say like I had the adult kids. I worked in, my background is in HR, so I feel like it feels like sometimes that parallels with education to me. So I get that. I had the parents of y'all's kids. So
right. Yeah.
No, that's cool. That's cool. So kind of walk us a little bit through your journey into writing and how you pivoted from, starting as, a side hustle along with your job into a full-time business that you do now.
Yeah. So I'm going to take a step back before I actually became a freelance writer. I became a general virtual assistant. That was the first business that I'd ever tried where I was like consistently making some money. But I realized pretty early on, probably within the first like couple of months, I only did that for a few months, that I really enjoyed the writing tasks. So that's when I transitioned from saying I'm a general virtual assistant to I am a content marketing writer. And so I started that, and like I said, I knew that I wanted to eventually quit my job and start writing full time. So from the beginning, I was very focused on what would be the smartest way for me to be able to get the most bang for my buck in terms of the amount of time that I had available to work on my business, since I was working full time and I had my daughter. So I really focused on finding like those retainer clients. So those were clients who I worked with every single month, like who needed blog content, and I could get money from them every single month consistently. And I focused on those assignments where I could get paid a good amount of money, instead of like a bunch of small projects. So I was just able to consistently book those gigs, and it made the transition pretty easy. I got to a certain point where I was making a good amount in my writing business, and I was making the same amount I made in my teaching business. And even though when you're a business owner, it's not like a direct correlation because you still have to pay taxes and all that kind of stuff. But I figured that if I could reach that amount while working my job, that I felt confident in my ability to quit my job and be able to make more. So after about January, I quit in the middle of the school year. It was January when I stopped teaching. Actually, so the 22nd of January will be the second year. That was like my last day teaching. So that'll be my 2-year anniversary. But I just stopped teaching, and then I went into my business full time from there.
Yeah, that's dope. The fact that you were able to be like you figured out fairly quickly like what worked for you, and like you were saying, like you knew in order to be able to make a certain amount of money, it was like not to take on these smaller jobs, but bigger projects in order to, make sure that you were successful, but also still you feeling your passion as well. And enough to the point where you could be like, deuces.
Yeah. Yeah.
I totally understand that as well.
No, I think we all
understand,
right? Did you say, I'm sorry if I missed it. Did you say how long you were in education?
6.5 years.
6.5. Okay.
Yeah. I was like, I thought this was it. I want to know, how do you find the motivation to keep writing when it feels impossible to succeed? And how do you approach your projects in specific? I know I'm not a writer, but I hear writer's block.
Ooh, this is a question for me.
Yeah.
This is a question for me. I need to know, how do you write through those hard days, or especially like, well, and I have a kind of another question after this too, just especially like, with how time changes and, different things that we experience, especially as Black individuals, like the emotion sometimes is tied to certain things. And like, how do you, on those days, like when you have a writing assignment, like, and it's hard, not even just when it's relating to something like that, but just how do you find the motivation to keep writing through?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So between when it's hard and, when things get really tough. So that immediately makes me go back to when George Floyd was murdered, and there was all of that going on. And my mind was so far away from work. It was one of the toughest times that I've had, right? Like in my business. And so like when things get tough, like in that realm, or just I have a hard day, writer's block, I'm tired, whatever. One thing that I do in my business is I make sure that I don't wait until the last minute to start working on my projects, because it doesn't give me any flexibility. So like when George Floyd was murdered, I took a week off. I just did not do anything. I told my clients I'm not going to be responding to emails, blah, blah, blah. So sometimes if things like that happen, I will just take a step back. But if it's just like a day-to-day writer's block or whatever, I had this last night. I had a project that I was working on, and I just kept working on it, and it was not flowing for me. I just stopped, because I realized that if I just sit at my computer and I just stare at the screen and keep trying, it doesn't tend to get better for me. But knowing that I have that, my deadline set out further, I know that I have like extra days built in that I can actually do the work. Sometimes if it gets really tough for me, I will do some light outsourcing. So if that's getting someone to like write my outline, or do some research for me or something, like I will have like my assistant or someone like, can you just research this for me so I don't have to do the entire process by myself? because like my mind is not in it. So sometimes doing little things like that will help too. But generally, if I have any type of writer's block, I'm not going to write because I'm just going to wait until later that day, the next day or something. And also one thing that I do is I build in days off in my business. Like I make sure that I'm not writing every single day. So I think that definitely helps a lot.
That's interesting. Because I was like, I always assume like you have to like write a little bit every day. So that I thank you for that confirmation, because I always kind of like try to put that pressure on myself, like you got to write something every day, even if it's like two lines, write something. And sometimes I'm like, I'm just not in it, and people they will know that from the other side from reading the piece if you weren't in it that particular moment.
Yeah, yeah.
I know you. I know your writing is more in the financial space. What kind of made you choose that path of writing? And is there any other type of style writing that you like to write?
Yeah, so I chose finance when I was thinking about what niche I wanted to go into. I thought about the type of things that I have interest in, and I love money. So I write a lot about money. It's just something that I like, and it's also one of the top writing niches in terms of what you can get paid a good amount for to write about. So I included like something that's profitable, and I included something that I like, and I'll put those two together. So I do a lot of finance writing. But I also I actually write about HR. I've been writing a weekly HR column for a publication for the last year and a half. I really enjoy HR, even though I have no HR background. I think it's really cool. So I like writing about it. I also write about small business topics. I like, business in general. So I feel like those are the three that I tend to go to, like HR, finance, business related topics.
Cool.
Had you always kind of had the writing bug, like even growing up?
It was just natural. Like I've always been a good writer. Like when I got my master's degree, it was just a bunch of papers. I flew through that program so easily because I can research and write a paper all day long. So it made sense for me to be able to go in writing. But when I was younger, I wrote more poetry in my journal. I wrote like I would start writing a book and then stop, like that kind of stuff. This is a good use that skill.
Yes. More kind of back on to like writing. So sometimes when I read a lot of news articles, most often I find that the Black or POC voice on topics is often missing. There are many writers of color with, knowledge and skill to professionally unpack topics that are intertwined with our identities and cultures. From your perspective, why are certain news topics from your perspective told through a white lens?
I think it's because it makes them more comfortable. They don't want to step outside of the box that they're used to or that they want to share. So it's easier to go to the same people over and over, the same types of people, instead of stepping out and realizing that there are other perspectives, there are other ways to tell a story, there are other people who can tell a story. And so they just stick to And so, that's really unfortunate, but one thing that I am seeing more is that, when they're making calls for writers, they're sometimes specifically saying, I'm looking for BIPOC, like Black and indigenous people of color, to do the assignment. So that is good that some outlets are making more of a concerted effort to include Black voices and other people of color in there, as far as people who are writing for them. But one thing I found, which I think is great, is a lot of my clients that I've worked with, especially some of like personal brand clients, they're like, I've been looking for a Black writer. I've been looking because I speak to Black women, speak to Black men, and I feel like it's a different voice that I need to come, for the words that are being written for my company. And so they come to me and they're like, I'm so glad that I found a Black female writer because I'm speaking to Black women or whatever. And so I think that makes me feel good because I'm able to like fill that gap. There's a void obviously in that area, being able to find like a good quality writer who can speak very well to a Black audience. So that always makes me feel good.
That is good, because that was actually going to be another question of mine, is like, are you finding it hard to, well, you've built up your rapport and your kind of your base now, but have you had like some struggle with, trying to find an assignment or get accepted for an assignment for writing, in some of those like markets?
Yeah, I think that honestly, when I first got started, most of my clients are not people of color. So I didn't really have struggles getting started in that way. But I definitely did find over time that a lot of people would come to me for, because I'm a Black woman and they were looking for Black female writers.
Yeah, I know that the question wasn't geared towards me, but I'd like to put some input in and just say that I personally think a lot of times why stories aren't told or are whitewashed or told from a white perspective is because it's more palatable to certain audiences. A lot of times, and not all the time, and I think this is one reason why it's important for us to be able to enter those spaces and to have a voice in those spaces. But a lot of times, our experiences tend to have some sort of trauma wrapped in them. And so then everyone else is like, I can't digest that. That's too much. They don't want to hear it, blah, 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 blah. But then on the other side of that is that not all of our experiences are wrapped in trauma. And so to be able to hear perspectives from us, from just Black joy in our experiences, and be like, hey, like not everything that we experience or deal with or our perspective on things is wrapped in trauma too. And so that helps to change, the narrative, and what other people perceive of the Black experience too. So
yeah, I get what you're saying there too. And I wasn't actually thinking from the trauma standpoint. I was thinking just from just the knowledgeable standpoint. Like we have the knowledge, thinking from just how Quiana writes more in the finance space. Like we have the knowledge. There are people that are equipped with that knowledge that can tell those type of stories too, or write in those voices and be represented in that space too. So sometimes it could just be me. But sometimes I feel like there could be more. Not saying that there aren't any, but there could be more done. And to Quiana's point, I'm glad to see that, we're moving in a direction where a variety of voices are being represented, because that's, how can we speak to people if we're not speaking from the voice of everyone? Like we're not reaching, like we're not involving all the voices to be included, because not everybody has the same experience in those spaces.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's a combination of what you mentioned too as well. So no, but that's good. That's good. I'm glad to see that it's projecting in that way.
I actually want to piggyback on something that you said, Tarian. And this is an unfortunate point. I do kind of feel like in some instances, when they do make calls for Black writers, they want a lot of the stories to be, what is cultural this, or what is your, have you ever had a racist that, or how you feel about, and it's from a Trump perspective. That really bugs me, because every time there's a call for writers who are Black, should not be so you can share something traumatic. Like I can write about being a mom. It's the joys of motherhood, not how being something bad related to being a Black mom, or not the racist part of being a Black mom. I struggled in this. So that is a frustration of mine for sure, that it's like, we don't have to just write about bad things that affect our lives or in our, culture in general.
Yes, that's exactly. Thank you for saying that, because that's what you packaged it in a way I couldn't say. So yes, thank you for saying that. No, that's true. Because we see that in other ways too, not even just from a writing perspective. Like sometimes you have those friends that might reach out to you like, what's your perspective on? And it's always, we're Black. Yes, that's how we identify. That's our culture. That's who we are. But we are more than just a Black individual. We're not, and we're not also the expert in all things Black. Yeah. So sometimes you want to be separated from just that, but you also want to be included in the wider conversations that if we as Black people don't ask, like, white people, like, what's the white perspective? Like, how do you feel like as a mother, how, like, things like that. No, we just want it to just be a discussion, and still include our expertise and still include our voice. So
exactly. Yeah.
Yes. I'm a simmer down. I'm sorry, y'all. I didn't know.
Well, moving right along, let Yana calm down a little bit. Let's talk about your 4-step framework that you've developed. How did you come up with this concept, and why is it so useful for writers?
So this initially used to be a 6-step framework. When I first really realized or decided that I was going to start helping writers build their own business, which was in August of 2020. So it was last year. But I looked at my experience because I was often asked, well, how were you able to, find your success as a writer so quickly? How are you able to transition from education to being a writer? Like all of these questions, which led to eventually becoming a freelance writing coach and helping others launch their businesses. And so I initially had a 6-step framework and realized that, it's very easy to get overwhelmed with launching a business, especially if you're working a 9-to-5 and you have all these other things going on. So I broke it down into 4 steps to make it as simple as possible. So it's like my 4-step framework, which is, you start by identifying your goals for your writing business. So do you want to write full-time or part-time? Do you want this to be your only job? How much money do you want to make each month? How many hours do you want to work in your business each month? Because all this information, and there's more to it, but that's just like a really general, but all this information is going to inform the type of writing business that you start. Because I think that a lot of times when you're starting a business, we might start a business based on what we see other people doing. But if that doesn't fit our lifestyle goals, then you're going to wind up building the wrong business for you. So it's really thinking about like what your goals are for your writing business. From there, picking your niche. I think it's really important to choose a niche in your writing business. And so it's just the process of knowing, do you want to do content marketing writing or copywriting, or do you want to write for financial industries or in the medical industry? Like, so choosing like 1 to 3 really good, profitable industries that you can write in, and then building a portfolio based on those pieces, with like at least 3 really good quality portfolio pieces. And then from there, you go and you start marketing your business. And so there are tons of different ways to get marketing jobs. I found great success with like cold pitching. That's really how I got started, between Facebook groups and cold pitching my services. That was how I got to the point where I could quit my job. And then referrals from the clients that I've had. So whether you want to do Facebook groups or social media, LinkedIn, cold pitching, whatever it is, but developing your strategy for inbound, meaning they come to you, and outbound, meaning you're going out to find the clients, a marketing strategy for that. And then putting your systems all in place. So making sure you have like your contracts, your discovery calls set up, and your invoicing, and all the things that you're going to need to actually onboard clients into your business, and make sure you have all the tools that you need to run your company. So you follow those 4 steps, and that's a good place to be, when you launch your writing business, to be able to start booking clients.
Wow. Yeah, you basically roll out the whole blueprint from inception to literally execution of running your business from start to finish. Gosh, when you were talking, something came up and I completely lost the question. Hopefully it'll come back to me while I'm gathering my thought. So when you were creating this framework, was it just more of a tweaking of your own like process, or things that worked, or things that you also just wanted to, like, you wish you had known when you started?
Yeah, it's like a combination. So I sat back and I thought, okay, how did I do this? And when people would keep asking me, how did you do this? How did you do this? I had to really sit back and think, well, how did I do it? And I thought about some of the mistakes that I made, or, things that I could have done differently. And so in developing this, I thought, based on 1, what did I do? And 2, what could I have done differently to be able to achieve my goal, as quickly as possible? And so that's what this is based off of.
Got it. And anyone can jump in this and apply it to no matter what style of writing that they do, like how they want to take their business. This is like a open blueprint for you to start your business. Isn't that right?
Yeah. As long as you plan on working directly with clients, Like if you want to start your own blog and make money, or you want to sell your own ebooks and things like that, it won't support you with that. But if you want to write emails for clients, social media for clients, blog posts for clients, or whatever other type of writing, this will work for you.
Awesome. Well, guys, we'll talk more about, how you can plug in and get connected with Quiana and her work, and how you can, become a client, and she can help you work through and starting your business if this is of interest. What are a few myths that come up when it comes to this business, or as it relates to you being a freelance writer, just in general?
I think that people think that being a freelance writer means that you have to be like a starving artist, and you have to like accept these really low paying jobs, and that there's not enough value in the service that you're offering. And that is like the furthest from the truth. So what I like to tell people is that really, like, don't just say you're going to be a writer, but if you're going to write for clients, understand the value that you're bringing to them. So like, if you think that blog posts, a lot of people say blogging is dead and no one reads blog posts and all of that kind of stuff. But then, well, why are companies paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a blog post? There's obviously some value. But if you don't understand the value that you're bringing to your clients, you're going to think it's okay for someone to pay you $50 to write a 1,500-word blog post because you don't know the value that you're bringing to them. If you don't understand the importance of writing an email that can help them sell a product or nurture their audience, then you're going to think that it's okay to get paid $20 to write an email because it might not take you that long to do it. So it's like, realize that freelance writing doesn't mean that you have to get paid really low rates. Another one is that there are a lot of writers, especially overseas writers, who are charging like literally pennies for their work. But that doesn't mean that we have to pay, to charge that same amount for our work. We're not competing with the writers who are charging $5 for a blog post. Like, that's not your competition.
Ooh,
and so realize,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, like $5 for a blog post. And it's like, that's not who you're competing with. So that's one really big one. Another one would be that, and I guess this is maybe just in general, is that you have to have all of this confidence when you get started. Like, you just your confidence has to be on a level 100 for you to take action. And that's not the truth. I always tell people, you want to take action. Action's going to lead to results. Results are going to lead to you building your confidence. For me, I didn't know what I was doing when I was getting started. But once I got that first client who paid me and they liked the work, then I said, oh, okay, I feel confident in this. Let me go do it again. And then the next person said they were happy. And I said, okay, I'm going to do it again. And then that person referred me and I said, okay, I'm going to do it again. And so that made me feel confident. It wasn't like I just, did all the research in the world and I just immersed I had a coaching call and he said, I've been immersing myself in the world of freelance writing. I've been reading all the books. I've been watching all the trainings. I've been reading all the blogs. And I'm like, that's wonderful. But what have you done? So it's like, you have to actually take action. And that is going to make you feel more confident over time.
Yes, you spoke a word there. I was over here like, yeah, I hear you. Yeah. No, because sometimes we are in our own way and we don't have to be. Like, no one knows the ins and outs of everything that comes with their job, but they do it. We can say that from the presidents of the top post in this nation, but no one in that role knows everything or comes in there knowing everything. So it is just something as simple as, starting. It's always a thing, and getting out of your own way and, and just leading with what you got. Because as you go, no matter whatever you do, as long as you're committed to that, you're going to grow through that thing. And it kind of reminds us with this podcast, we had no clue what we were doing. Like Tyrion said, she started in education. I was in HR. That is no relation into podcasting or digital media, any realm or space. And to be in season 4 in this, we just sometimes we still wake up and like, is this for real? People still listening to us? But no, but that is so true. It's so true. And I'm not going to hold you, Quiana, because I've peep that you work. You doing it. It's no reason. I mean, there's a reason why they're coming back to you, for, you know, because the value that you add. And yeah, so yes, you doing.
Yeah, I was just saying that.
Thank you.
I was just saying basically the same thing that I was just saying. You know, that's a word for just anything in life or anything that you do in general. Number one is recognizing your worth and your talent. And then just stepping out and just taking the action to do whatever it is that you know what I mean, your passion, the thing that you're passionate about. And then everything else will just kind of snowball.
Fall into place,
yeah. And fall into place for you. So I love that. Like I said, you know, writing per se doesn't resonate with me because that's not my gifting. But at the same time, there's so many gems and tools that I can take just from the things that you shared with us today. So I appreciate that so very much. Your demeanor is so like, I don't know.
Isn't it just like isn't she just like I don't. Yeah. It's like a comforting
regal
type of
regal.
So
but regal not in a bougie way. Regal.
Yeah. Right. Like I'm just here
to share some knowledge with you all. And that is it. No cockiness with it. I love it. First of all, I feel like
thank you.
Cocky, but thank you for, I don't know, just being you and being present here in this moment today.
Thank y'all.
Yes. Before we come to a close, we always like to ask our guests a couple of closing questions. So my closing question for you is, do you have anything new coming up, any projects coming up this year? I know you said things really started to kind of kick off back in August. But is there anything coming up this year that we could be looking out for?
Yeah. So depending on when this comes out, my coaching program, Right for Profit, is continuing to have new cohorts throughout the year. So the next one's kicking off in February at some point next month. And then it'll be out again in the spring and in the summer. So that is something that I'm really excited about because I get to work with people live over 6 weeks. Or actually, I just bumped it up to 8 weeks on their writing business. So that is something really exciting that's coming up.
Awesome. How many do you accept in your cohort?
I usually keep it fairly small, so like no more than 10.
Okay. Well, I hear that. If you want to get involved. Well, by the time this is aired, you might have missed her first cohort, but definitely stay plugged into the things that she has coming up.
Yeah, I was trying to peep over the schedule, but it's a little too small in my astigmatism.
You got to get your glasses on.
I have astigmatism too. I get it.
Oh, I do too. That little bend, boy. But no, that's good. That's great. Actually, mate, I'm gonna talk to you offline with some things that I have that I kind of like. Yeah, I'm gonna follow up with you.
Okay.
So before I kind of close the show with the things that how our listeners can connect with you, I always like to throw out the question just for the year. Most of us usually have a word that guides us through the year, and I know that we're at the beginning of 2021. Do you have a word that's powering you for this year?
Okay, a couple. I have not chosen my actual word, but just off the top of my head, a few are coming to mind. And one is gratefulness. I feel like I'm a very goal-oriented, driven person, but I want to make sure that I'm always grateful for all of the things that I have achieved, that I am achieving. And I actually, right here on my wall, I have an abundance list. So I'm just listing all the good things that happen and that have happened so far in the first, couple of weeks of the year. And it's little things. So like I went to Target and I saved $10 on these games because it rung up wrong. Or, I ordered from Instacart and they were late, so I got a $10 credit. Like it's all of these little things that you think might be small, but it's like, okay, I'm grateful for that. So while I'm going to continue to be goal-oriented and focused and driven, I'm also going to think about all the things that I'm really grateful for. So I think my word would probably be grateful.
I like that.
Gratefulness. maybe.
Yes, I like that. Gratitude takes you a long way. Yeah, it opens
there you
the
go.
door.
That's the word.
Yeah, it'll get you further sometimes than your talent will.
Yes.
So that's amazing. I love the fact that you literally like the smallest things a lot of times that we don't appreciate in the moment, for you to be like, no, I'm gonna write down the fact that Instacart was late. But that guy that was late, whatever happened, I'm so glad that they were late because it was able to work out in your favor.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Love it.
So before we let you go, we do want to know how our listeners can connect with you. So if you don't mind sharing your socials or website information with us, and we'll make sure that everything is in our show notes.
Yeah, so I'm the social media platform I'm most active on is Instagram. So you can find me on Instagram at Quiana Darden. And then my website is QuianaDarden.com. So I have various resources. You can learn about like the various resources that I have available on either platform, my website or on my Instagram page.
Awesome. And she's being very modest right now, but y'all, she also has a very giving heart, because she is giving all of our listeners a special discount on her coaching program. So thank you for that.
Yes.
And we will include all that information in our show notes as well. But Quiana, we just want to thank you so much for joining us, having this conversation with us, and really the work that you're doing and your give back. You know, I know it's part of what you do, but it still is a give back, because you are opening a door for most people that didn't know that this was possible and even know how to step in to enter into this space. So thank you for walking in your gift and using your passions to help power somebody else.
Thank y'all for having me. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Yes. Guys, I just want to say, as a note, as always, as we wrap, that, we thank you for always rocking with us and supporting us, lifting us, as well as our guests that share with us on this show. Your support really powers us to continue to move in this way. And we really, really, really are grateful for you all. It's always our mission, our aim to share the stories of these beautiful Black women. It's our aim to share in our lessons and celebrate our successes. And I feel like we have successfully done that today. Did you have anything, Terry, that you want to share before we go?
No. I just, like I said, I appreciate Quiana and her work, and just her spirit and her energy. And I feel like I learned some cool things today, just as far as the writing process and how you can throw yourself into that realm, So even though, like I said, that's not my thing, but I may know of other people who want to enter into that space at another level, and I can share these gems with them. But also, let them know to click on that download button, go ahead and listen to Melanated Conversations so they can hear it for themselves. But no, this has been fun. I've thoroughly enjoyed you. I've been enjoyed having this conversation with you. So thank you once again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, if there isn't anything else on that note, until next time,
melanate on that.
Thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed our chat today. Keep the conversation going by heading to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leaving us a review.
Have a story of your own to share? Email us at info@melanatedconversations.com or connect with us on social media at Melanated Conversations. Till next time, keep raising your voice.